Campbell Safety Consulting. A lot of people actually mentioning, like, we had no idea where to turn for a safety program. Campbell Safety Consulting can do it. Look at this mosh pit we got now. We got two guys in loungers.
Wow.
Darian right in the middle there. If you're watching the stream, you got the whole gamut. Should we go Rider Training Camp, or Dave? Should we get into a little Three's Company? Who is because you're from that age too, right?
Hey, I'm not from that age. All I'll tell you is that I was focused on talking football, and I heard you talk about something about your wife's undergarments or something, and I thought, I'm out. You guys do what you need to do here.
Oh God, Darian, I thought about this one to ask you about camp, because it's early in camp. There's some new receivers, a few new running backs, veteran quarterback, right? How quick can a rookie or a young receiver or running back piss off a veteran quarterback at training camp?
Well, with a guy without much time like Trevor Harris, I mean, it could happen pretty quickly. And I mean, you look at the veteran receivers that are coming back, and there's just not a lot of room for error with these guys. It's all about continuing to build chemistry for this offensive group. And, there's just not a lot of patience for a rookie. You have to be ready. You have to be a smart guy who's ready to pick up the pace. So, not a lot of leeway.
How often or how many times, and this is a little bit harder to answer, would Trevor Harris have been in contact? Maybe it was like a video session, like Zoom wise, with the veteran receivers he knew that were coming back this year in the offseason.
I think those guys put in a lot of time this offseason. Whenever you make it so close to the Grey Cup and you feel like you could have, it just wasn't the Riders' day that day in Winnipeg, but you always feel like, if you would have had it together, you gave yourself a chance. And with as close as they were last year, I definitely think they're doing everything they can to build even more chemistry to make sure that camp is smooth and they can pick up right where they left off last season.
I'm really curious to know from both of your perspectives, and I'll start with Luke and then we'll go to Darian, but tomorrow will be the first padded practice of training camp. I'm assuming it means different things to different people on the team. What does it mean to you?
Well, the O-linemen are always excited because they finally get – it's a bit of a revenge tour for the offensive linemen. Doubles will remember this. The D linemen, I mean, we come in and the first day of no pads, we dominate, especially in the one-on-ones. There's no time more. The D linemen are going to be more physical than the first couple of reps of practice, regardless if they're padded or not. So once the pads get on, the O-line, they're ready to roll. Like, those guys are thinking, defensive line, we're ready to roll too, but it's something special for the O-linemen because they finally can get their feet. Those guys get so sick and tired of rookie D linemen bull rushing them. They get so sick and tired of vets jawing at them, right? Like, if we got to doubles on day one of training camp during team, right, we might poke him in his ribs. We know we're not supposed to touch the quarterback. Well, because it's doubles, we're going to touch the quarterback, right? And the whole line, so they get all grumpy. And so the first day of practice, man, they go and have their Ovaltine and they have their 24 eggs at the buffet and a bunch of pancakes. They come ready to go. They're lathered up. It's fun, though.
For Darian, what does it mean to you? Okay, you weren't supposed to get touched.
No, this is football. This is what it's all about. I mean, it's easy for anyone to go out there with shorts and a jersey on and be able to make plays, but you separate the men from the boys with the pads, man. And, this is when you start getting the smell and the real football smell in the locker room, just the energy you feel. Everything is all about when the pads go on. So this is the most exciting time for me, and I'm sure for a lot of the guys, especially the ones who are trying to find a spot on the roster. It's all about what you do when the pads go on.
And you find the dogs too, right? Like doubles. I remember, you'll remember doubles. All of a sudden there'll be a couple of receivers that are out there throwing blocks during team, and that gets the whole group worked up because that's a receiver. They're not usually supposed. DBs that come up and start hitting, that really gets the juice going because the D lineman, O lineman, doubles is right. This is football. This is our job. But when you get the skill position guys starting to get physical, you know what? That was the first time in pads we noticed the Joe. last year.
True.
Very first time was in pads because he was a dog. And Doubles has seen tons of guys like that.
Absolutely. So that kind of leads to my question, Darian. How important, whether it's 7-7 or 12-on-12, how important was it for you to win as the offense, to dominate when you were out there, to put your stamp on
every single day? Every single day. Look, in order for you to make the team, you're only going against your defense. So in order for you to make the team, you have to try to beat the defense on every single play. And I mean, I'm sure those guys, or Luke will tell you, those guys have the exact same mentality. I mean, you'll deal with the preseason game when it comes. You'll worry about whatever team you play in, within the 2 weeks. But when you start camp, you have to dominate the guy across from you. And the beauty of it, you kind of get a feel for how he plays and what type of guy you're going against when you're going against the same guys day in and day out.
Doubles, Luke really talked it up earlier. I thought framed it really well when you were talking about the continuity versus complacency with the roster. And when you got to Saskatchewan, right, there were veteran guys in front of you, and you had to make a mark and stand out. So what would you be thinking if you're a young guy coming into this camp and you look ahead and you see Micah Johnson and Mike Rose and you see all those veterans that may be ahead of you on the depth chart?
I don't think that I'm the best guy to ask for advice because, when I came in,
yes, you are.
For me, but see, I'll tell you why it's not a good idea. You'll get a playbook. Every guy will get a playbook. And most guys come in and say, you know what? I'm going to follow this playbook, strict. I'm going to be strict about it. I'm going to do everything my coach tells me. And sometimes that's just not the right way to go about it. It's about sometimes going out on a limb and just trying to make a play and make yourself seen and be a guy that a coach says, you know what? We need this guy. He's a playmaker. He's doing it within the system. So how I would approach it is, if I knew I had a deep route, even though it wasn't my primary read, if I knew I had a good matchup in a situation where I could make a play, I'm going to take that deep route, even though it may not be in my progression, because you have to show coaches that you're first of all, you have to show them your ability to recognize the entire field. That's one. And then two, you have to be able to make plays when you get the opportunity. So sometimes you don't need to just follow the playbook step by step. You have to go out there and try to make a play.
Man, I'm so glad Double said that, because today, I think it was either Mayer or it was Cone, but today we had Skelly, and it was in the last team drill, and it was a simple little, they were trying to set up a screen, but what happened was the screen got broken up, but man, like on the backside of that screen, there was a long, deep route. And that's the first thing I thought, what Doubles just said. I was like, man, if I was that QB I would have screwed the screen. I would have thrown the deep ball, because that's what gets you. That's what you get. When people talk about Bo Levi Mitchell and the first time that they saw Bo Levi Mitchell, what is the story they tell you? They tell that story of him going deep on his first play, completely missing it, and then saying, screw the playbook, and going deep the second play as well, right? You got to be aggressive. And I'm glad he mentioned that, because that's one of the scenarios we ran into today.
Isn't that the double-edged sword, though? Like the cowboy? You have the cowboy, the Johnny Manziel out there. That's just like
Manziel.
No. Manziel.
I mean, it depends. It depends
Whistler,
on what
Alberta, BC. It don't matter.
Right? Look, it's a long flight back to the States, right? So, do you want to be on that flight thinking about what you should have done or could have done, or you could still be in town, with another day of practice under your belt because of what you did do? So, sometimes you just have to go out on a limb, trust your instincts. And, when you get in meeting rooms, sometimes coaches will be okay with the explanation you give them later on that night in the meeting rooms. They'll be like, Darian, what were you thinking here? And, explain, look, coach, I know my reads were here, but I have a one-on-one opportunity with a guy who, turns a 50-50 jump ball into an 80-20 jump ball. So I'm going to take that chance to put some points on the board. And you may have that coach who agrees with you and loves that type of answer and will want to see more from you after that.
Okay, for a lot of us, we don't know. We just know that the Riders were practicing basically from about 8:30 till 11:30 today, and then there would be lunch. Can you break down what a day at training camp is like, or when you guys were going through it? What time up, and then practice, and then what does the rest of the day look like? Because for the average fan, we don't know. We just know when you show up on the field.
Well, for quarterbacks, it's a lot different. We have script prep, which is where the coaches, they leave the scripts for a practice session in your locker, and you have to, review the script. You have to do all of these things before practice. So if you have an 8:30 practice, we're in there by 6:30, doing our stretching. First of all, you have to go to breakfast, I'm sorry, and make sure you fuel up for the day. But you have to go in there and you do your stretching, your mobility exercises, whatever you need to do to get your body ready. And then mentally, you have to prepare yourself with the script work. Luke and those guys, if it's a 8:30 practice, they're coming in the locker room 7:45, 8 o'clock, right after they're going straight to breakfast and then coming in the locker room. So it's a different type of prep that comes with the quarterback. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we signed up for that type of job, but for a quarterback, you're in that locker room a couple hours early. It's so much you have to do just to get prepared for one practice.
Yeah, I think that if we had an 8:30 practice, Doubles is right. I'd probably breakfast at 6:30, right? So wake up, go down, eat breakfast at 6:30, and then head over to the locker room, get taped up. That's the biggest thing. Routine is everything for an athlete. And, with the extended number of players, you go from 60 to 110 at camp or whatever you have. You've got to get in that training room earlier if you want to do all the things that you're used to doing pre-practice. But the best part about training camp, and I'm not sure how Doubles looked at this because of the rollout that the quarterbacks had to go through, the best part of practice was you got to eat and go. There wasn't any meetings before, right? Like you might touch base as a position group in the locker room, but my favorite part of training camp was the fact that everything that you wanted to do hit quickly, and then in the afternoon, that's when all the meetings and stuff that were important, but not necessarily, because we didn't end up in college. You ended up breaking that up, right? You had a practice, then you'd go to lunch, have meetings, then another practice maybe. And in the CFL, you just attack it all at once, and that's probably was my favorite part of camp.
We're getting people loving this on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Now let's get some stories from the old camps going here. I got to ask, was there a camp that you remember, and then maybe a coach or whatever, where just you guys weren't focused? Maybe just some of you, maybe all of you weren't focused, and it was a coach that had to tear a strip. Anything that stands out in your mind from camps when you guys were together?
Oh, wow. I mean, you know what? I think every year coaches had to come in and straighten us out. Like we had so many jokesters, so many guys who were just pranksters. I mean, the number one guy is over there, sitting on the couch over there, Mr. Mullinder. I mean, he was a guy who wanted to stay up at night and play games, and knowing that we had to be up early in the morning, that was him. But for the most part, we were, and I can't speak on other teams, but we pretty much throughout my career had the same guys coming to camp, the core guys. We were the same core group every single year. So we pretty much had a hold on everything. We had control of the rookies. We were able to organize the rookie show. We weren't a rookie team where coaches had to just be on our backs 24/7. We had a good group, man. And I think that's what made camp so fun for us, because we look forward to just getting back around our brothers, around our friends. And it's not that we had to go in and build chemistry on the field. We were already friends. We already had that chemistry. So the off season was just too long for us. We were ready to get back together and get at it.
Luke, what was your prank or your joke of choice?
Oh no, we weren't pranking anybody or joking anybody. I think that we kept it relatively loose. Doubles is right. I think that one of the things about our core group was we also wanted to win, right? Like we were coming off of 2000. Like that group really started taking place in 2006. We won in 2007, and we wanted to continue winning all the way through, right? So we were actually pretty focused. I think that the only year that I remember sort of a lull and it wasn't addressed, and I think that our start was indicative of the fact that we never addressed the lull, and Doubles probably remembers this, was 2011 when Greg Marshall was our head coach. It was just sort of a weird rollout of training camp, and nobody was really on the same page. And I'll never forget, we were in a team meeting probably day 5 of training camp, and this was before the meeting got going, and I'll never forget this. It just wasn't a good. It was a weird vibe that year. Keith Sholigan, the D lineman, we all sat up at the top, except for Marcus Adams. He was brown nosing at the bottom, being further up with the O lineman. But Keith Sholigan turned around and he looked at me dead in my face and he goes, with this crap eating grin, he goes, "We're not going to be very good this year." And I was like, "Keith, don't say that out loud." But it was just, I don't know. It was a weird feeling, right? Doubles, you remember that?
Yeah, and I think I know why. I mean, we just came off losing the devastating Grey Cup in 2009, and then we go back in 2010 and we lose again. And not only did we lose the Grey Cup, but Coach Miller decided to retire after that season. So it was kind of like, you reached the Grey Cup 2 years in a row. You're playing at such a high level, and then your head coach resigns, and then you have a new guy who comes in who doesn't understand the culture, doesn't understand the guys, and it just was. Yeah, Luke's right. It was just a crappy feeling going into that 2011 season.
Now, Luke, you established earlier already that the offensive linemen are doing Ovaltine or something, right? That's their breakfast of choice. But in all seriousness, though, you're in a campus dorm setting where you're going and you have to rely on others for your food. So what are you guys eating during training camp?
Well, that depends.
No, man.
Go, Double.
One thing I can say about Saskatoon is that, the food is just amazing. I mean, I remember the camps in Regina at U of R, and the food, I hate to say this, but the food was just horrible. It was horrible. Right?
The worst.
But, yeah, but with, the new calf at U of S and the way they structured things and the way they had everything laid out, the breakfast bars, the dinner, everything was just amazing. So you're going to get some good food in Saskatoon, but in Regina, it was just the complete opposite.
Yeah, you don't want to load up on you want to get some eggs. You want to get right, you don't want to load up only offensive linemen. Those guys are just fat all the time, right? So they're doing the pancakes, waffles, and just right. But the rest of us, we're trying to calibrate ourselves to where we can get some energy, but also not feel like we're down in the dumps the entire practice, right? So breakfast, but I think that the most important meal is probably dinner, right? That's when you really gotta take care of yourself, got to make sure that you're eating right, and then again, of course, because it's dinner, it's unlimited desserts. You got to put your calories back in, And
you have to be careful because there is weigh-in the next morning, right? So if you have a strict coach who makes the guys get on that scale in the morning, you have to be careful because there's a lot of late-night pizzas being ordered by the O-line and D-line.
Well, and I was going to ask, so when training camp is on, are you guys allowed to leave the dorms and go out? Could you go for beers if you want, but just be back at a certain time, or is that all just off limits? And how does that work?
No, there's curfew, but you can pretty much do whatever you want before curfew. Now it's pretty early, so it's not like you can stay out late and hang out, but guys, coaches really trust the guys to not go out and have a beer or do the wrong thing, and make sure you're putting the right fuel in your body. So you can pretty much eat what you want. Now it's up to you, but if you're eating the wrong foods, it shows on the field. And if it's a hot day and you didn't put the right food in your body, it'll show.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it feels like a godsend when you've got a day off. Because that's when guys will get together and maybe go out. Is if for instance, you've got the Sunday off, that Saturday night everybody will cut loose. But Doubles is right. Everybody wants to make the team, right? There's too many things to be concerned about in terms of being a professional athlete. The guys that want to go out, want to party, that's fine. But a lot of those guys don't end up making the team, or they never quite reach the potential that I think that they came in with. You got to be focused.
Come on, Luke. There's got to be one late night delivery call you made at one point. Saskatoon, Venice House, Verns.
No, honestly, I think that we were again, our core veteran group. We were focused on winning, and we would get together. The one thing that we would do is we would get together and game a lot, right? We would, because everything was competitive. We get together, we'd game a lot, but we never really went crazy. and I think it
Madden?
was just because you've got the entire year to go crazy, and Regina's a small place. You know what I mean? So it's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't need to do everything in camp.
Was it Madden? What'd you guys game? What'd you guys play? Cards? Cribbage?
No,
Catan
board
or Monopoly.
games.
Yeah, Catan or Monopoly. It started out with Halo for sure.
Wow. Look at that. That's a look behind. Wouldn't have pegged you guys as game guys.
Count of 3.
Yeah. There you go. All right. This has been good, Darian. We kept you a little bit longer than usual. We'll let you go. Thanks so much. Dave and Luke, stand by. We'll throw it a break. We'll come back with more.
Doubles, it's good to see you, man.
Always, my guys.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of these guys calling you Darian the whole time, though. That is something I'll never get used to.
I know. I have to get used to that as well.
All right. Darian, thanks so much. Have a great night, Darian.
All right, you too, man.
Double talk.
Darian's got to go. He's gonna write a Google review for the U of R cafeteria, so he's got to take off. And
I hope whoever's in charge doesn't listen to this. Right?
They're probably long gone by then.